Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Stephan Livera podcast, a show about Bitcoin and Austrian economics. Today, for episode 184, my guest is Alessandro, also known as El Sultan Bitcoin. But first, a word from the sponsors of the show. So, firstly, Swan Bitcoin. Now, disclosure, I am an advisor and I hold a small equity stake with Swan. But if you're in the US, you must absolutely get your auto stacking on with Swan. It's so simple, even a no coiner could do it. Step 1, you auto fund the USD from your bank account. 2, you auto stack your Bitcoins. And then 3, you auto withdraw Bitcoin to your cold storage. Swan does not charge withdrawal fees. They want you to follow best practices and hold your own keys. Swan is the cheapest auto stacking service available in the US. They beat Coinbase's fees by 80% and Cash App's fees by 57%. So set and forget, just Swan and chill. Go to swanbitcoin.com/Livera and you can start auto stacking with Swan today. And they put in $10 worth of Bitcoin dropped into your account when you start stacking with Swan using that code. So go and check them out at swanbitcoin.com. Next up is Unchained Capital, Bitcoin financial services. So you can set up a vault and secure your Bitcoins using a 2 of 3 multi-signature scheme. And in that scenario, Unchained will hold one of your keys. And that's also a good tip that if you're looking to improve your security, this is a great option. They've also got loans as a product. So you can put up some Bitcoin and get USD liquidity without selling that Bitcoin. So that's also an option available to you at Unchained Capital. And so Unchained Capital have got an awesome variety of services. You can go find them at unchained-capital.com and you can see their loans product and their vault product. And they've also got people there who can help you out. You can book in a session and get a consultation if you need help setting up with them. Next up is CoinFloor. So if you are in the UK or if you have pre-coiner friends or new coiner friends in the UK, check out CoinFloor. They went Bitcoin only recently. And so there's no confusion. Your friends won't get confused with all the altcoins. It's Bitcoin only. And they've got auto buy as a product on their exchange. So they've set it up and they've also got an affiliate scheme as well. So even if you are already a customer or if you have friends who are already customers, but they're not in as part of the auto buy product, well, now you can look that up. It's a 39-month scheme. You can generate a Bitcoin income by referring new or existing CoinFloor customers to AutoBuy. So go and check them out. The website there is coinfloor.co.uk. And last but not least is the Cipher Wheel. So if you have a hardware wallet or if you've got a Bitcoin seed and you need to make sure you've got that backed up. Make sure if something happened to you or it's often on a piece of paper, make sure you've got something better than that. You've got a steel backup product for that. Make it fireproof, waterproof, rust-proof. It's also got a scheme that shows you if it's been tampered with. So you can set up your Cipher Wheel in a way that is evident if there's been tampering going on with your seed. So make sure you or your loved ones have access to your Bitcoins if an accident occurs. You can go and order it at ciphersafe.io. All right, so my guest for today is Alessandro Cecere. He caused a ruckus recently on Twitter with his recent post, and I'm very excited to bring him on today. So welcome, Alessandro.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Stephan.
Oh, it's great to chat with you. So look, just a quick note for the listeners. We were planning to do this the next morning, actually, for my time, or it would have been in the afternoon. But, you're on now, and we thought, well, we might as well just get this going now while you're here, because I know the internet is a little bit more patchy where you are. So, look, tell us a little bit about you, man. We want to hear your story. How did you get into, all this Bitcoin stuff? And, let's start a little bit with, I think it would be very interesting for my listeners to hear a little bit about, growing up in Venezuela. What was it like? From an economic and monetary perspective, what was that like?
Well, I'm 26 years old, and I was thinking before getting on the show, the fact that I think that Australia has not seen a recession for the past 28 years, I think, right? But all of my life, I've been living in a recession. All of it, man. So it's pretty, it's pretty normal to me here in the term. I think it's not the normal for people that have not been like inside my country. It's crazy. It's a thing that you need to live and breathe to totally understand it. So look, the other day on Citizen Bitcoin, right, talking to Brady, I told him that my Bitcoin story started in 2011. at high school when I was talking to some friends. I was at a friend's apartment, and we were just browsing on the internet, and we found this, digital currency. And we started peeking around it. It was first like a cool thing, and then I started really getting into it. But actually thinking about it these past days, I'm pretty sure, Stephan, that my Bitcoin story starts in 2009. So in 2009, I traveled to the United States with my father. It was only my father and me at the time. And we went to SunTrust Bank to check our family savings. And I had to stay there like for 6 hours. I was like 14 years old, 12 years old maybe, right? And I did not know what was happening. And then it ended up being the fact that SunTrust Bank had taken from us more than $250,000 in savings. And that went through a whole deal that we went to the FBI in the United States to go through the case. And then attorneys in the United States just to get back our money, That was just a hectic story. So that was pretty much the thing in my life that I started asking myself this question of where does money come from? How does the banking system work? Why did a bank so reputable in the United States took my family savings? But yeah.
Sorry, one thing. Why did they take it? What was the reason?
Look, my family never emitted nor any debit card or credit card or checks for that account. It was just it was just a savings account in the United States, okay? The reputable savings account in the US, man, Someone at a certain point went inside the bank and they just emitted new debit cards, and then they started withdrawing with those debit cards like $100 or $150 daily from Bucaramanga and Medellin in Colombia. How the fuck, if you're a reputable bank, someone starts withdrawing $100 or $200 daily from a savings account that has never moved in like 5-7 years, and then all of a sudden he's in Colombia withdrawing money? What the fuck is that? So there must be a thing pretty messed up inside the banking system. And I think it's not the US. I think it's globally. But yeah, basically, let's get to 2011. I was at this friend's apartment and just started studying about Bitcoin. I was not very, I was in high school, man. I was not even in college yet. So to me, it was just a game. People were playing video games on the internet, man, and exchanging Bitcoins for magic cards and stuff and have hotel, whatever, But then it was in 2013 that I was in Sweden. I had already like investigated so much about Bitcoin, man, and the price started skyrocketing. The bubble started, the 2013 bubble, and I was in Sweden. Yeah, I couldn't stop watching the Bitcoin's price. I was not very well financially educated at the time, right? So I was not able to grasp that like Bitcoin in a way that I thought about it for the long term.
Yep. So at this point, did you have any Bitcoin, or were you just kind of researching it, or what?
I did not. I was only researching, doing some research. But then in 2013, I started one of the biggest mines with a couple of friends. I'm actually looking at one of them right now. I'm borrowing his office. He has a pretty cool Bitcoin project himself, and we'll talk about it later. That's pretty confidential for the time being. But yeah, we built one of the biggest Venezuelan Bitcoin mines at the time, man. We started mining with S1s, then S3s, S7s, S9s. I've built mines for people, and that's how I got my first Bitcoins. It was just mining. I see Bitcoin swell, as I call it, the Bitcoin heaven of the globe, man. I mean, free electricity, and when everyone was starting mining, it was perfect. It was like the perfect setup scenario, dude, literally. And it's always been, and it has just continued growing up and building on itself, just like everywhere else, right?
Yeah, and so tell us about your mining experience, because I could imagine they might have cottoned on and said, "Oh, hang on, there's all this electricity usage going on here. Don't we want to look into that?" What happened with that?
Okay, so of course we started mining with video cards. When we started mining, I was looking at some mining hardware that was being launched in California, and I started telling my dad that I was going to become a millionaire, traveling to California, and I was going to start mining this magic coin with this special hardware, or whatever. But look, it was not. There was a period, and I would say that it was the S9 and S whatever that came after that period. That was during the 2017 bubble. You could buy like an Antminer for $2,500 in Caracas. And that's when the government started going after all of these mining operations underground that were happening in Venezuela. But at that time, 2013, you were just like the ideal pioneer. Nobody knew what the hell you were doing, man. Everyone thought you were just a crazy dude spending your time wasting electricity or whatever and resources, buying some crappy stuff. I don't know. It was just so cool, man. I'm not made of steel, but I'm made of Bitcoin. You can be sure.
So then, okay, so what was the kind of next step then on your journey? Like you were doing mining in 2013 and then, you've gotten to this point now. Tell us a little bit of what you were doing after the mining.
We mined like until 2015, I personally, right, myself. Then I got separated from the group. And then eventually we sold all of the mines. So we made a pretty good, decent profit on that because it was like we sold the hardware after 2 years of being operating almost at the cost that we paid for it initially. So we mined Bitcoins, we sold the hardware pretty decently, we made a decent profit. I started investigating more about Bitcoin, man, and because of those Bitcoins that I had, I've always had this personal interest of creating a hardware myself because I started studying electrical engineering at college in 2011. So in 2016, I traveled to China, dude. I traveled to China in December. I wanted to see China, see what the heck was going on over there. I went to Shenzhen, Guangzhou. I went to Hong Kong as well. That was an amazing trip, dude. Especially to a humble Venezuela, man. It's like you're going to the other side of the globe. You're opening your mind, right? So I booked two Airbnbs. I booked an Airbnb for Guangzhou and for Shenzhen, and both my hosts had Bitcoin. What's the probability, right?
Wow. Well, so maybe people who are on Airbnb, they're very like forward thinking about these things. I don't know. So I mean, it sounds like you're quite well traveled.
Yeah, man, a lot. I've had the opportunity to see 35 countries for myself, man. For Venezuela, that's a lot, and I try to channel as much humility as possible, right? Humbleness. When talking about that, because I come from a very humble country, man, and it's only full of beautiful people. I can tell you, I can bet you that this is the most beautiful country in the world, man, and you're gonna see it with your own eyes because you're gonna come here with El Sultan, man. Be sure of that.
So I think I'm curious, actually, like, because I can imagine then your story would be very atypical, right? Like most Venezuelan people would not have had that kind of opportunity, right? And I guess that's the other thing as well. Like, in terms of like the typical understanding around Bitcoin, what would the typical sort of understanding be? Like when you talk to Venezuelans, what's their kind of understanding around Bitcoin?
Okay, so
do they think it's a scam, or
most of them think it's a scam. but there's I mean, it's already been so many years that you've seen. I'm gonna use the term millennials, although I'm a millennial myself, and we hate that term because it's a stupid stereotype of the industry. The industry does not even exist. It's only small groups of people drinking coffee together.
The smash together.
So look, so many people have already got into Bitcoin, like 20 somewhat years old people inside Venezuela, specifically in Caracas, right? The capital. If you tell even a chick today, like a beautiful chick from my country, and you tell her, do you know what Bitcoin is? She would tell you, yeah, I have a couple of friends that mine the cryptocurrency or whatever. And we actually have this national cryptocurrency El Petro that started in 2017, and that was like the government shooting themselves in the foot, man, literally, because they did marketing for free for Bitcoin. That's it. And then in the 2017 bubble, we got all of this hype inside Venezuela, especially with the dash of Caracas and Venezuela Foundation. I actually believe that they opened people's mind a lot because they started giving for free Dash to people inside Caracas. So it was hectic. All of these events that the Dash Foundation would do inside Venezuela. Bitcoin itself has not had yet events as big as the ones that Dash has already done inside my country. I actually think that it's somewhat negative, but I'm already planning on doing one of the best global Bitcoin events inside Bitcoin Swell. You can be sure about it, man.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. So, like, what's the typical, I guess, what's like the level of the education around Bitcoin then? Like, what are some of the materials that Venezuelans would use or look at for Bitcoin education?
So there's this in Spanish. There's this digital journal, right? Cripto Noticias. It's very well known for the Latin American market, right? South America. It's for the Hispanic market overall. I know the CEO himself, the founders and the co-founders. They've even come to my office twice. Nice guys, Venezuelans, just tough entrepreneurs. Baddest Bitcoiners. That would be one of the main resources that they use. I think that most of the curated material and learning and education stuff about Bitcoin on the internet, it's all in English. You know that, Stephan. It's like that, right? You have one of the most trending podcasts thanks to your beautiful accent. But unfortunately, if I told a couple of friends, like, listen to this podcast, they probably say like, oh, but it's too Bitcoiner stuff and it's in English. Is there anything in Spanish? But then if you do a podcast in Spanish, you need to do it very, very well. And it can't only be Bitcoin. It must have also other related stuff to it. It's like, if you want to put Bitcoin, it's great, but it needs to be like indirectly,
Right, I see. Yeah. And I'm also curious around what people use as, like store of value, right? Like, are people trying to hold USD instead so they don't lose value? Are they looking at, Zelle or these other kind of sort of stable coin-ish, or just using kind of the banking system in some way to preserve their wealth? What are some of the methods people use if they're not using Bitcoin right now yet,
Well, look, when oil was discovered in Venezuela, it was pretty much done by the Americans. So all of our history since the 1900s, right, we've been tied up to the American economy until Hugo Chavez came in. Literally, the whole thing just went sideways. So we were used to, as Venezuelans, traveling a lot to the United States, opening up bank accounts, savings accounts, checking accounts, and just depositing all of our nation's wealth inside the United States. Literally, man. I mean, even the government right now has freezed some accounts that they had at Citibank. So pretty much every Venezuelan's dream was travel to the US and see Mickey and Disneyland and open up a bank account in the US. So if you had the chance to travel to the US, man, you do have a bank account in the United States. I use JP Morgan Chase, for example. And I use Zelle to make some payments daily. I don't even use the Bolivar anymore. I just change some Bitcoins when I want to spend my Bitcoins. And I change them for Bolivars and local Bitcoins. So as custodial solutions, people here mostly use local Bitcoins. Totally, that's it. They just leave those Bitcoins there. If they have a US bank account, probably they already have an Uphold account. Because, at the beginning, it's RTM. I don't know if you know RTM.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
It's like a peer-to-peer platform. You can buy Bitcoins using Zelle, using wire transfer. It's sort of like a local Bitcoin, but more user-friendly. It's just a piece of shit. My friend that is here, he has a better project. He's going to eat up local Bitcoins in Latam. You can be sure of that. He's a commercial partner of CoinSpray, so I'm pretty aware of what the fucker is doing.
Right, yeah. So and then that whole story as well of so I'm sure you've probably seen the Matt Aalborg stuff, and like you've
Yes.
probably seen that stuff, and I presume, I mean, you'd have friends, who are part of that story, who are doing that sort of stuff.
Of course, I have lots of friends that got into the remittance part of Bitcoin, because before being Bitcoin, it was only dollars. You would buy and sell dollars, and earn yourself a fee on the middle, right? The typical intermediary concept. For the past 15 years, that's been basically the main driver of business inside Venezuela. How to get the money out of the country, how to get the money back inside the country. Okay, because you can't accept dollars here, nor euros inside your bank account. It's terrible. The whole banking system is broke. Okay. Look, Venezuela is a very particular stuff, man. Look, I have more than 10 friends that they live out of Bitcoin remittance. After the sanctions of the United States and the 2017 bubble, Bitcoin usage inside Venezuela just went booming, and it's non-stop. And now we don't even have Zelle. Wells Fargo quitted Zelle payments coming from Venezuelan territory. It's pretty stupid. Oh, Wells Fargo is a very hypocrite and shitty bank. Literally, it is, man.
So then the typical flow, as I understand it, is you have this diaspora, right? So people will go overseas to try and earn money, and they'll buy Bitcoins in whatever other country, send them, and then they'll sort of do it through one of these traders who is kind of being the middleman here. And then they're the one who is trying to provide that kind of in between Bitcoins and then the bolivars that the local person needs, right? So I guess some of your friends are those trader guys, right?
Right, you got that almost right, except for the part that those people that live outside Venezuela, not most of them are buying Bitcoin for themselves and then giving Bitcoins to these remittance traders. No, it's like they just send them their euros to any bank account, and then they are in charge of taking the money, changing it for Bitcoin, and using Bitcoin to change it for Bolivar. And it's all happening through local Bitcoins, man. And I think it's a cycle that will just continue. It's growing, and Bitcoin volume inside Venezuela is going to surpass the $1 billion per year, man. And that's huge for this country. I mean, like, our international reserves right now are standing at $6.67 billion, and that's mostly gold and stuff, some dollars and euros. Eventually, I think that Bitcoin volume inside Venezuela will even surpass the amount of international reserves that we have. Bitcoin is going to be bigger than the whole Venezuelan economy itself.
So, I mean, that's kind of like I guess that's the remittance story. And then there's also the, holding story. So, I mean, as I understand, it's kind of like not everyone, well, many people are not at the point where they can really save, right? Because they're kind of living sort of hand to mouth, right? What's your experience there? Is that like a small percentage of the people who are able to actually hold Bitcoin and kind of do it for speculation reasons?
Totally, dude. And I can tell you, and you can be sure of that I'm the best Bitcoin hodler, okay? Of Venezuela, dude. I have 100% of my savings exclusively in Bitcoin, dude. I've been even into financial markets for the past 6 years, and I quitted all of that. I only have GBTC on my broker account in the United States, dude. So yeah, not much people can HOD of Bitcoin. That's it. So I think it's actually a huge deal to build important businesses that will make usage of the Lightning Network for people to buy even cents of Bitcoin inside Latin America, not only Venezuela, and Zimbabwe and those countries like that. Okay, so Zimbabwe is comparable to Ghana. Venezuela is comparable to Zimbabwe and Ghana and Uzbekistan and whatever. I mean, if you see all of those tweets that they come out often, those videos that those who don't look and remember the past, they will be destined to live the past once again, whatever. All those videos,
doomed to repeat it. Yeah,
doomed to repeat it. Yeah, all those flags and hyperinflating economies over the past years, and then suddenly in 2014, Venezuela goes, wow, first place.
that's cool, man. So tell us a little bit about your Lightning experience. Have you played around with any Lightning wallets?
Sure, dude. Sure. I run 5 full nodes myself, and one of them is Satellite. So yeah, look, I played the Lightning Spin. I started playing the Lightning Spin on the Lightning Network before it was bought by OpenNode. I think it was actually easier to grab something or make a profit before OpenNode bought it, but that's fine. Yeah, I played with the Lightning Network. I even grabbed the Lightning Tiny Torch, not the actual torch, but the Tiny Torch.
Awesome, man. So like, what are some of the wallets and things that you would use in the Lightning Network?
I only use the LND protocol. That's it. And if it's for my phone, I will probably use Blue Wallet because I have an iPhone.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then yeah. So do you have like any of kind of your trader friends into Lightning stuff as well, or are they kind of all just doing on-chain stuff? Because that's kind of what local Bitcoins is, right?
On-chain, dude. On-chain. I mean, Lightning Network is still for geeks, man. It's bad as Bitcoiners, but we got to continue building on it. Okay, it's so important. I think there are only like 3 Lightning nodes inside Venezuela. One of CoinSpray's team members right now, he lives in Switzerland. He moved abroad about 2 to 3 years ago. He's been helping me a lot. Now he's starting to run his open door box in Zurich, and he already like installed a gigabit per second internet over there. So CoinSpray is gonna start building like we're gonna have always 24/7 open our Lightning node from Switzerland. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Look, so let's get into nodes then. So tell us about your first Bitcoin node experience. Like what was that like?
That was actually thanks to Jameson Lop. I gotta give that to the dude, okay? That credit is his. I got into a tutorial I found on Medium. It was how to install a Bitcoin Core full node on Ubuntu for non-technical users. I've always been a technophile, a geek all of my life, man, okay? An internet guy, literally. But I had never installed Linux myself, and we're talking about almost 3 years ago. I just went through the tutorial, just went through it, installed my node, and starting understanding like what was happening here, what was happening. Before that, in 2016, and almost in 2017, I had the opportunity to meet up with some friends, and I tried to set up like what was going to be the first Bitcoin only Venezuelan exchange. Okay. Not like Local Bitcoins, which is a company from Iceland, okay, and that is eating all up with the volume. That's where I started learning more about nodes. They didn't even know what the fucking node was, but we got into talks with a developer, a Bitcoiner from abroad, from the United States, and he started explaining to us about this full nodes and stuff. So I started digging more into that, and that's why in 2017, then eventually I installed my node myself. And that's when I said, Stephan, oh my God, I don't know how the hell, but everyone needs to run a full node, and they just don't know it. They don't know it, man. And I've just studied so much about Bitcoin, and I went crazy about it. I found some parallels with Atlantis to Bitcoin itself. And I think that if you don't run a Bitcoin full node, you're not into the real decentralized part of Bitcoin, okay? And you're not a Bitcoin citizen, okay? To me, Bitcoin is not a currency anymore. It's more than that. It's a global digital continent, man. And it's the first digital continent that humankind has ever created in history, Stephan. And it is like that. And it is above everything now, man. Above the Constitution and above governments and above the banking system, above everything, dude. And the community is just beautiful. Look at this. I'm having the possibility to talk to a dude that's in Sydney 14 hours ahead of me, and it's all because of Bitcoin, dude.
That's cool, man. So, I mean, look, the thing is, it's one of those, it's difficult to communicate the value of that to a person who's new, right? Because the typical answers you'll get from people are, I've already got my hardware wallet, or I trust the exchange. Worst of all, right? And I can understand, when someone's first learning, they might just have a phone wallet and that's all, right? And so it's kind of like, how do you kind of go on that journey? And I suppose you obviously, well, every Bitcoiner goes on that journey, right? Like typically they start on, the phone wallet, and then maybe they get a hardware wallet depending on how much they bought. And then, okay, now it's time to start learning, okay, what's this node thing? How do I use that? How do I connect it? Right.
So that's why I think, Stephan, that, look, running a Bitcoin business or trying to run one, build one, it's actually not looking too much into the future. It's about getting back to basics. Getting back to basics and touch ground. Okay, people that don't know what Bitcoin is, you won't. To convince them at once that they want a Bitcoin full node, it's like what? It's like I'll give you an example. I've convinced people that don't know anything about Bitcoin that they should run a Bitcoin full node, but because I don't call them Bitcoin full nodes anymore when I talk about them to pre-coiners, I call them Pandora box, and I show that to people physically, and that's when they say, oh, that's beautiful. Even chicks, man. What's the probability that you create a Bitcoin product, okay, a Bitcoin full node, and then you show it to girls, and they say, I want one of those to look myself into that stainless steel that works like a mirror and paint my lips. Crazy, man. So look, I think it's great stories, awesome brands, okay, tied to those awesome stories. Great products. Do one thing. Do one product first. Focus on that, okay? And start finding the way that you will educate people and shorten the learning curve for them. And then good distribution. And good distribution, right, comes with investment, VCs, and I'm on that. You can be sure.
Yeah. So look, tell me about CoinSpray. Why did you start CoinSpray?
So it was actually because I had already got too much into Bitcoin, okay? And I was already grasping an understanding about it that when I started talking to people inside Venezuela and other Bitcoiners, I didn't see them having the knowledge that I already hold about Bitcoin. So it's kind of like personal ego stuff that started telling me inside my head, like, you gotta build a Bitcoin business because it's a responsibility. It's not even because you want, it's because you got too much into it, and now you have the possibility to become a pioneer in that. And I have some assets and resources of my family myself. So I said, like, which other Venezuelan has the opportunity of that? Alessandro. Which one? You got to do it, man. This is a call. This is your call. Okay. This is one part of your call in life. So I started digging into more about Bitcoin full nodes and starting more learning about how to install them on a Raspberry Pi. And that's when I thought about it, like, oh my God, I can use the smallest computer in the world to install Bitcoin full node there. And that's pretty much a bank, right? Like a personal bank, literally. A hardware wallet is not. If you don't have the blockchain, you are still depending on a third party to interact with. Let's not call it Bitcoin network anymore. Let's call it Bitcoin continent, okay? So look, and learning more about Bitcoin full nodes and trying to create a market, right, inside Venezuela, because there's not a market for Bitcoin full nodes. And I've been this unique advocate and like a pastor. I've been shepherding the whole wave to like building new infrastructure based on Bitcoin full nodes inside Venezuela. I envision my country with at least 10,000 Bitcoin full nodes, okay? I have to, look, I've talked to the banking system. I've talked to investors. I've talked to the Venezuelan stock market. I've talked to fintechs inside Venezuela. And I started showing them first why they wanted a Pandora box and how I could help them out building multi-signature schemes and how we could eventually make usage of the Liquid network and be part of the intercontinental exchange network that Blockstream is building and build up some stable coins ourselves, like a Bolivar stable coin even, right? But on the Liquid network. So my whole business model with CoinSpray for Bitcoin full nodes started as a B2B business model, and it still is. It will not become a B2C business model, I think, for the next year and a half or 2 years until I finish the application and until I really build the best plug and play Bitcoin full node that exists on the market. Because I've already have Nodal, I've already have Samurai, I already have Casa, and they all have their own approaches. I've already installed myself my node BTC. I even grabbed the SD card of Casa and I formatted that and I installed my node BTC on it. And I just think that I have my own approach, man, you know, and I have a different story. And that's a huge opportunity because no other Bitcoin company globally basically has immediate penetration inside the Venezuelan market. And I think we're actually like the perfect Bitcoin consumer globally, but because our government made us outliers of the system. If you are a Venezuelan, you pretty much can open an account in every single exchange in the globe. Bittrex has already shut in my account. Uphold has shut down my account. And it's all because you're inside Venezuela. Kraken has not. Kraken is awesome.
Well, yeah. So then I guess the business model that you're kind of going for is selling to businesses inside Venezuela to have a Pandora box. So what's the case for them? Like, why would they want a Bitcoin node?
So look, I've already told this to so many people inside my country. If you think about it, it's so stupid that we have like 1 or even 2% of the global mining hashing power inside Venezuela, and our economy is broke, literally, okay? Why are we exporting every single Bitcoin that we mine into an international exchange or into a hardware wallet of an international company? It's because we don't have a national custodial solution. That's it. And that's what I envision, Stephan. I envision that we can actually Bitcoin, and I think it will happen. Bitcoinzuela will be the first economy in the world to get Bitcoinized, dude. It's already pretty much Bitcoinized, but it will adopt Bitcoin as a standard, not only as a unit of account. It will adopt Bitcoin as a philosophy, as an ideal of life and a lifestyle, literally. So that's why I think we need Bitcoin full nodes, man, right? And themselves store Bitcoin for the long term. Do not depend on third parties to transact over Bitcoin continent. Okay, have a foot in Bitcoin continent yourself, and the fastest ship to Bitcoin continent is Pandora box.
Cool. So what are the businesses saying? Are they sort of anxious about it? Are they sort of like, oh, we don't really know about Bitcoin, we don't want that? Like, what's their message typically?
Totally. Definitely, look, the hardest penetration for CoinSpray to date has been, of course, with the banking system inside Venezuela. But again, it's completely broke, okay? The Venezuelan banking system is completely broke. So they don't have anything else to do. They can have dollars, they can have euros. What are they going to monetize? They're sort of like inside a room, and there's not any more space to move inside that, okay? So they definitely have to get into Bitcoin. And nobody else has approached them, and you can be sure of that. Only El Sultan has approached them with a custodial solution. Who is going to build for them a Bitcoin full node inside Venezuela? Nick Newman? Jameson Love? No, they're not. They can't.
So you're gonna try and help them set up with Multisignature.
Yeah.
What are you using then? Are you doing like Electrum multisig, or what's your plan with that?
It's actually more like a manual process. I'm trying to get rid of Electrum server for the institutional part, right? And just building Multisignature from raw, okay, from terminal. And we use different hardware wallets. We use Trezor and then also Ledger. I'm actually in talks with the Trezor Enterprise division, and hopefully CoinSpray will become an official commercial partner of Trezor very soon, man. So I'm very much excited about it because that will give me the possibility of not buying, Trezor like on Amazon or from any reseller. I will become a reseller myself, and I will just get the Trezors directly from Trezor and use them to build the multi-sig scheme. That would actually help us a lot with those Shamir backups that they use for the private keys and all of that. I'm actually planning on installing Caravan the Caravan Protocol from Unchained Capital.
Nice. Unchained is my sponsor, but I'm a
yeah.
big fan of them as well. I think the Caravan is a great option. Hopefully that also becomes like one of the easy ways for people who want to kind of do their own, right? If they have like a MyNode and it's already on the MyNode, then they can set it up, right? And I mean, even for business users, you could definitely try and put that to use there as also. So that's pretty cool. So I mean, how big is your team with CoinSpray?
We're more than 10 people, man. We're more than 10. We're 10 plus people, yeah. And there's a Swiss guy already. He's 47 years old. There's my father. He's almost 60 years old. The business development advisor of CoinSpray used to be the auditor for the FBI servers in Florida in the United States. And he worked for over 20 years inside the Venezuelan banking system. So he has pretty much done all of the lobby for CoinSpray inside the Venezuelan banking system. In the end, it's a cartel. Those are bankers. So you need to do somebody lobby. You need to invite them to a restaurant and give them a nice piece of steak and a bottle of whiskey or whatever.
Awesome. So is the business mostly, sorry, go on.
We're mostly millennials. We're 23-year-old people and 26-year-old people, 29 years old people. We're a very multifaceted team. I only build teams filled with maniacs.
What's that saying? It's like those ones who are crazy enough to believe they can change the world, they're the ones who can do it, right?
Yeah, and Bitcoin is money only for maniacs.
It'll get there. It'll get there. So is CoinSpray meant to be mainly inside Venezuela in terms of customers, or are you kind of looking at Latin America? Or what's your kind of market there?
So look, I had not it was not in my plans releasing the whole satellite Blockstream deal that I did 2 weeks ago, right? I was envisioning that like 2-3 years in advance, Stephan. But then the whole COVID-19 thing exploded, and the globe has already changed. Mindset has already changed. Psychology has already changed. People that used to sleep 10 hours are sleeping 3 hours only now, or 4 hours. So it's hectic. And of course, I've got that into consideration. So I know that Latam and South America is a very vibrant and special market for not only CoinSpray, the whole Bitcoin deal, man. Okay, we've been craving for years with currency exchanges everywhere inside South America. Argentina, Brazil, and Peru and Chile, every single one of those countries has gone super inflationary or hyperinflationary. And Venezuela is working as the harbor for Bitcoin volume through local Bitcoins for all of South America. So I know that the story behind CoinSpray, the amazing story behind Pandora Box, is starting inside Venezuela. I've already built use cases with Universidad Metropolitana, right? Who is my college. It's the most entrepreneurial college of all of Venezuela. I've already run proof of concept tests with them, and they fell in love with the Pandora Box. They were crazy. As soon as we connected the full node, we were connected to China, to Iran, to the United States. They couldn't believe it. There's no boundaries. It's Bitcoin continent again. But yes, now I'm trying to insert the whole satellite deal for Latin America. And I know that making usage of the Raspberry Pi is ideal for that. I'm actually under talks with Blockstream to figuring out. We're running tests together on the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, stressing it as much as possible because I think it's the ideal hardware to continue deploying that overall South America. I've already actually been in touch with the Raspberry Pi Foundation themselves, right? And eventually, look, the Raspberry Pi 4 is already 8 gigabytes. It's a monster. Okay, you could run an AI neural network and neural network node on that, and have installed a Bitcoin full node with Lightning and Liquid, and it won't crash. You can be sure of that. So look, eventually, even the Raspberry Pi Foundation will start giving for free. Raspberry Pi, all spare parts of Raspberry Pi 3B pluses. And I pretend on using that for Latin America and start giving that even as donations to start building use cases. I need to continue educating people, okay? And but after Venezuela, I
do plan on going internationally. I also, inside CoinSpray, we have already traced a vision and a strategy on how to penetrate the European markets, the US markets, and South America. And it's amazing. And it's all under my sleeve, man.
Well, look, man, I want to hear about your Blocksat story. So tell us, how did that come about?
Okay, so last year when the electrical grid started failing in my country, I immediately bought the necessary hardware to start running tests with satellite with my team. Because we felt freeze. We couldn't do anything, man. I mean, we were undergoing the Pandora box development. We were starting to run over the Lightning Network and the electric grid started failing. That was chaotic. We started using first Fedora because I started looking at Not Groovel's tutorials on Medium. And the first tutorial he put up online made usage of the Fedora distro of Linux, right, to install the satellite. We run some tests. We connected to the satellite. It was very Blockstream that had not launched the 2 megabyte per second download speed under satellite. It was already Blockstream Satellite 1.0. But yeah, we were already been testing for over a year with Blockstream satellites, Eutelsat 113, the South American satellite. But then the whole DirecTV deal that all of a sudden they left Venezuela, I said, okay, dude, I'm fucking tired. I'm tired of the government. I'm tired of the system. There's no system. I'm tired of everyone. I'm going to get the transponder out, and I just installed the free LMB, right? And now I'm running my own Bitcoin satellite full node, man. It's amazing. After I started running them on Fedora, I started running it on Ubuntu because now it's way easier to install it. The listeners should totally try to install a Bitcoin full node and go above the system. We don't give a fuck about anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some pretty big updates that came in the new Blockstream Satellite version too, as I understand. They've got a new feed which can... So previously, I think it was like the last 1 day worth of blocks, whereas now they've actually got another stream which apparently can go from 0 to all the way on Blockstream Satellite now. So that's very cool, especially for people who want to try and just start up from the very beginning and do it all the way. So there's a lot of awesome, sensor resistant properties that come from that. And I think it's a very cool project by Blockstream. So I presume you were also in touch with some of the guys from Blockstream.
Yeah, Samson Mao, Excellion, and Blue Matt, and yeah, man. I'm inside the private Slack channel.
Awesome, man. That's very cool. So yeah, so I guess then with the Pandora box, what's the thought for the hardware around that? Is that going to be Raspberry Pis inside the box, or what's your...
It is going to be definitely the Raspberry Pi. To me, at a hardware perspective, Stephan, the Raspberry Pi, dude, it's like the Bitcoin of hardware. Literally, literally, because it's like the most open source hardware and computer PC of the globe. So I think it will, and it's backed by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, dude. It's just an amazing hardware. And look, I've not done tests like inside a laboratory like Swiss people would do inside Switzerland. And I think that's pretty much why the Bitbox project got stopped by Shift Crypto Security. Costs, dude. How much does it cost you to have a developer in Switzerland? Like 5,000 Swiss francs per year. You know how much CoinSpray's teammates charge to CoinSpray? 0, because they're married to the costs.
Hardware is expensive, right?
It's expensive, man, and trying to run those kinds of projects is very difficult. I look. Do you think that I already had in my mind the Pandora box when I started CoinSpray? No, and frankly, and that's just how any project starts, man. And you just got to keep on going, got to keep on building, and you got to show the people that you're in love of what you're doing, man. Otherwise, why the hell are you doing it, man? Quit that. But look, I'm gonna be pretty honest and straightforward.
If it's not me, Stephan, eventually someone will build a Bitcoin full node like this, as flat as your iPhone, dude. Okay, and as sick as your iPhone. And you need like I've run the numbers already because I'm an industrial engineer. I know how to build production lines myself, right? Any sort of production line for whatever it is that you want. And you need like $50 million to build a hardware factory to start producing Bitcoin full node dedicated hardware, literally. So before anyone achieves that in the globe, I think it'll first be through the Raspberry Pi itself. So that's why I've already been in touch, even with Farnell Ltd. They're one of the only 2 companies that globally have the license given by the Raspberry Pi Foundation to produce Raspberry Pis. They have factories in the UK, in China, and even in the United States, in Florida. And they are able to produce Raspberry Pis at the same cost at each one of them because it is so automated to the last nanometer. It's sick, man. You gotta see one of those factories. It's sick. So I've already been in touch with them, and the general manager from Europe. That was back in December 2018, and he fell in love with the project. He was like, how the hell is a dude from Venezuela approaching me in Milano, Italy, and I'm one of the best bakeries inside Italy, and he's with this small Raspberry Pi, and he's telling me that he wants to install Bitcoin full node there, that it's going to be open door. It's an awesome story, man. Really.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so that's great to hear. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the Bitcoin community. Tell us a little bit about the meetup scene, and is there much of that going on, or not really?
Look, there's only one dude that has been doing most of the meetups here. Okay, Crypto Bastardo, literally, it's him, Javier, and I think he's done a pretty well job. He's built a brand himself from scratch, from the ground. And that's the beauty of the Bitcoin community, right, man? When you start introducing yourself and you do your own research, you start talking to all of the Bitcoiners and you start introducing yourself there. I think that we need more than just meetups inside Venezuela. We need like a Bitcoin techno party inside Venezuela.
So what's the party going to be?
That's confidential for the time being, but you're gonna be inside it. You're gonna be inside it, and Brady has to be there, and Andreas Antonopoulos has to be there, and Jesse Powell, and everyone, dude. Because frankly, we Bitcoiners need to show one thing to the globe right now, because it is our moment, Stephan. We need to show that we are united, dude, that we don't give a fuck about governments and we don't give a fuck about any system. And once the whole COVID-19 deal passes, I'm sure, dude, it'll be explosive once we start uploading the videos and the photos together from Venezuela. And I'm taking the time to set up a nice thing. I think we're gonna call it Bitcoin Tropical Valley event, because Caracas is a valley itself. It's a beautiful valley.
Right, yeah. So you gotta brand it, and I think they've got like different places called whatever, Bitcoin Valley or Crypto Valley or whatever, things like that. So you're gonna set that up there and get that started, hey?
Yeah, man. And you're coming. You are coming.
So what's it like, the current story? If people want to travel in and out of Venezuela now.
For now, because of the whole COVID-19 deal, blah blah blah, it's a mess. But probably next year it'll be just fine, man. Okay, if you want to travel to Europe and you have enough money, you can go. If you want to travel inside Venezuela, you can come. Of course, you have to know someone inside Venezuela, but be sure El Sultan, man. You're gonna be safe over here with me.
So tell us about. Oh yeah, sure. Oh, he's lost his headphone there. Got him.
Too much passion.
That's right. Too passionate. So tell us about your rebranding to El Sultan Bitcoin.
Sure. It's specifically because of part of that strategy of CoinSpray of transitioning from our B2B business model into our B2C business model, right? We're starting to communicate to people and the Bitcoin community that bit by bit, we have the intention of selling Pandora box to people. Okay, so the rebranding will help us. It's going to be awesome. All of the CoinSpray team members will have their own meme. Okay, sort of like their own character. I'm El Sultan Bitcoin, and we're gonna have El Bitcoin Rider, El DJ Bitcoin, El General Bitcoin. It's gonna be so cool, man. I think that people are liking it. Okay, people that don't know anything about Bitcoin, they feel more in touch with it. They are connecting more to that feeling. And yeah, I test every single thing that runs through my mind. Firstly with my friends, then with my Bitcoiner friends, pre-coiner friends, old people, right? Look, I'm this crazy guy, Stephan, that has even thought that Andrea Bocelli should be able to use a Bitcoin full node. Artists should be able to use a Bitcoin full node. And we Bitcoiners have the responsibility of continue communicating how important it is for people to run a Bitcoin full node for the globe, man, okay? For the globe, for the future of humanity, man. And I think that even Kim Kardashian will run a Bitcoin full node eventually. I think that even Roger Federer will run a Bitcoin full node, dude. I think that even a blind person should be able to run a Bitcoin full node. Otherwise, look, what's the sound of Bitcoin, Stephan? How does Bitcoin sound? You don't know. Bitcoin is dead. If it doesn't have a sound, it's dead. If you don't have a sound at all, you're missing one of the senses. And if you're missing one of the senses, you don't even have a user experience at all. So I'm trying to bring music to Bitcoin, okay? So that even a blind person can use Bitcoin. We've been already testing a voice assistant for Bitcoin Core itself, so you can talk to the blockchain. It's like, what's my balance? Boom, and it gives you your Bitcoin balance. What's the last block number? And it gives you the last block number. It's hectic. It's super cool. Pandora Box is
very ambitious. Very ambitious goal.
Super ambitious. Super ambitious.
Yeah. So then I guess thinking more like, security of the node and stuff like that, how are you kind of thinking about that as an issue for people? And, are they, you're thinking they're keeping their keys hot on the node kind of thing, or, they're going to do the whole Electrum server, hardware wallet thing?
Sure. I think it just depends on the use case, right? It depends on how much Bitcoins you have, how much are you into Bitcoin, how much Bitcoin are you going to transact there? Are you going to go all crazy and you want to start liquid trading Bitcoin and you got to change Bitcoin for liquid Bitcoin and then start trading with USDT, your liquid Bitcoins and that stuff, okay? Which is totally doable, right? There's even liquidity.io to start buying your liquid Bitcoins. So I think it's a task for CoinSpray to continue educating people all of the possibilities of what they can achieve with their node. But as JW Weatherman says, right, that he has yeti.com or .org, awesome page. You can plug safely a couple of thousands of dollars inside your node, okay, and that's gonna be fine. I've done it myself. I've had like more than 4 Bitcoins inside a hot node, and it's fine.
Right,
From Venezuela, it's fine. And running over Tor with Lightning, whatever, and I've also coin joined myself, and it's fine. Okay, it's just like, and I'm not giving coin joiner to people yet. I didn't think that giving Lightning to people yet. It's not ideal, man. It's not ideal. Look at what happened to Casa when you started setting up the first version of Casa through your web browser. It's like this is an experimental technology. How are people that don't know about Bitcoin going to buy that? They're just not.
Yeah. Another interesting one is this idea of, well, now a lot more people are going to work remotely potentially, and they might be able to, if they've got a digital skill, then they can start earning Bitcoin. So that's potentially another angle as well. So are you exploring that as a way that you teach people about Bitcoin of hey, you can sell your service online and earn Bitcoin?
Not yet, but because I still have lots of work to do with our strategy and the whole again, one thing at a time, focused. And our focus is Bitcoin full nodes, literally building a beautifully aesthetical Bitcoin full node. One cable, only one cable. And maybe in the future, in 5 years and 10 years, a wireless charging hardware without any port, okay? Like that. But yeah, I think that, look, I'm planning on even building Spanish tutorials, very curated with CoinSpray's image and colors and all of that, right? So it's beautiful and interesting to people that don't even know about full nodes. For them to learn how to install a full node themselves, okay? Probably just, and bit by bit, right? First Bitcoin Core, stable, okay, go Lightning, stable, okay, try going Liquid, okay, stable, run Tor, okay, stable, VPN, okay, stable, coin joining, and all of that, man. Eventually, yes, every single Bitcoin business globally and Bitcoin project needs to understand how to adopt inside their vision an open source model of anything, education, technology, whatever it is, a GitHub page, whatever, man. But you have to include it.
Awesome. So in your view, what does the next, let's say, 1 or 2 years look like for Bitcoin?
For Bitcoin, I think it's going to surpass at the price level. I think it's going to surpass the $50,000. I'm counting on that. If it doesn't happen, I don't care. Look, I have all of my savings, and I've seen them go to 20,000. I didn't sell anything, and then it went to 3,000, and that was like pretty interesting psychological experience, right? And that makes you tougher. The Venezuelan Bitcoin ecosystem, I think, is continue being very vibrant for that next year and 2 years. I'm very excited about what's going to happen for Bitcoin globally. Look at, as Jesse Powell said the other day on Bloomberg, we are seeing merchants, hedge funds, VCs, every single sort of client that is getting inside our exchange and is starting to buy somewhat Bitcoins. And Bitcoin is just this awesome brand that will be superior to Amazon. It'll be the best brand, man. It'll even be more loved than Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it's exciting to see.
Bitcoin will actually save families, not Coca-Cola.
So have you got any ideas around, Bitcoin citadels?
Bitcoin citadels. What is that? What does that mean? I'm sorry.
Well, it's I mean, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's this idea that, people are going to set up, these kind of gated communities with like private security or whatever, and they're going to have like their kind of higher security area for Bitcoin people who want to get away from the more crazy people out there. But it's more like some people joke about it. Some people are more serious about it, let's say, So you got people who are talking about, oh, let's have free private cities and let's have whatever, right? But then you got other people on the other side who are like, no, hold on. It's actually not a very good idea from a security standpoint to have all these Bitcoin people together in this one area because, they can get attacked and so all that. So, but I think it's an interesting thing to see. And I think I'm expecting to see this kind of jurisdiction competition idea, right? Like people are just going to set up in lots of different areas, and there'll be some that are better for Bitcoin and some that are not so good for Bitcoin. And that's how I see it playing out. But what's your view? Do you have any thoughts on that idea?
Look, I think that eventually maybe even governments start creating globally an official Bitcoin embassy inside the country, right? Inside their jurisdiction. I do think that's going to happen. Because it's a continent. It's not a network. It's a continent. And what do you do with other countries and other continents? You do trade deals. You didn't regulate them. Actually, look inside my thesis that I'm doing for it's called a production line for full nodes pertaining to peer-to-peer blockchain networks, case Bitcoin. Okay, and in it, I think I'm pretty much sure I built one of the best. I designed one of the best Bitcoin full node production lines. But anyways, inside my thesis, there's a specific part where I mention another thesis of a dude that studied, he's an attorney, and he studies digital messages and how governments should regulate digital messages, right? For example, an email, a WhatsApp message. And I think that the countries that go first at seeing Bitcoin as a digital message, okay, from a regulatory standpoint, and not as money, and start building the need for licenses and a bit license in New York and whatever crappy license that you're trying to put on top of Bitcoin. I think those companies will thrive best at Bitcoin adoption than others. The ones that start seeing from a regulatory standpoint, Bitcoin as a digital message. It's a message. That's it. It's a message, dude, over the internet. That's it. Over space. So look, with regards to my vision, look, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are going to launch a whole bunch of mini satellites providing global internet usage to the world. Okay, so that's part of my vision. And as far as Bitcoin citadels, I don't know about Bitcoin citadels, but I'm sort of building my own. Just that it doesn't have gates. I'm thinking about financial telecommunications. So I'm running a satellite node, and I'm planning on hooking up to it a LoRaWAN antenna to start providing offline radio frequency blockchain Bitcoin signal for pretty much all of my neighborhood to have free Bitcoin signal. So if they have that and they start buying a more cheaper hardware than the high $500 cost that you have at a Pandora box level, for example, to build your full node on a Raspberry Pi with SSDs, you start having all of the sudden access to Bitcoin signal without using an exchange. You only need like this very small hardware to decode the signal, the frequency, and start transacting over the blockchain. And then maybe have CoinSpray be paid $1 per month. Okay, that Venezuela can allow himself to pay $1 a month to transact over the Bitcoin blockchain network. Somehow I have to monetize the business.
Of course. And so what do you do in terms of power outages and still being able to use Bitcoin and all that?
So since I had the interest in creating the Pandora Box project, I approached a electrical engineering teacher, one of the best electrical engineers of Venezuela, from Universidad Central de Venezuela. It used to be one of the best colleges globally at its time. He installed automated systems based on Raspberry Pi, running on Raspberry Pis for the banking industry inside Venezuela, to automate all of the lighting infrastructure, okay, and part of their AC usage, their AC. It's a very cool project. And he had running those full nodes for over 2 years. So I did approach him to see how much, to see if it was actually viable to run to have running a Raspberry Pi 24/7 for at least 5 years. And it is totally doable, man. I'm totally impressed at what the Raspberry Pi Foundation has achieved with that mini computer. I think it's gonna thrive so much, man, and it's gonna teach not only about Bitcoin to people, it actually helped me about learning to code. And that's way more important than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is code itself. Well, it's the World Cup of code, right? It's as heavy as the World Cup in that sense, and it's the best open source technology that exists. Totally. I think I might have missed the point, but I'm just really excited about what's coming.
Cool. So I guess in terms of dealing with power outages, then you kind of.
I use an UPS.
Right. Yeah.
I use a UPS, but I am planning on doing tests with solar panels. I even built a solar panel with an acrylic sheet and then put some garbage, a piece of a garbage bag inside it, and then wire some copper to it, and you can get like 5 volts out of that. You can. So yeah, I'm an electrical engineer, man.
Of course. Also wondering whether you've explored the whole local kind of mesh networking, stuff like GoTenor or Locha Mesh, any of those ideas?
Sure, of course. Randy is a proud Bitcoiner, and I've been in touch with Randy himself. He's building a very interesting thing, and in that sense, CoinSpray and Locha are somewhat of like brother projects, right? We're at a hardware level. We both come from Venezuela. I just approached first the institutional part of it, which I think is very important. And so we're like, together, we're both building a very vibrant Bitcoin ecosystem. I'm very proud of what the dude is doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Look, man, I think they're most of the questions I had for you. So look, let's finish up. I guess, where can listeners find you online, and if they want to follow you, what's the best place?
Okay, so I'm also Tom Bitcoin on Twitter, and I'm also Tom Bitcoin on Instagram. We do not have a YouTube page yet because the internet is pretty crappy, and we've been hooking ourselves up with some nice offices to be able to launch the YouTube channel eventually. But I'll be mostly on Twitter, just as Anthony Pompliano says, and probably you already know because you're an expert at this. Go and curate first one social media site, then another social media site, then another social media site, and bit by bit. I'm very conservative. I'm a hectic guy, but I'm conservative.
Awesome. Well, listeners, make sure you go and follow Alessandro. Check out CoinSpray. And thank you very much for joining me, Alessandro.
Thank you, Stephan. Just be in touch, man. You will come to see Bitcoinzuela. You will come to see the oldest land on the globe, and you will enjoy it, man. Every single one. And we have to totally promote this, and you're gonna help us, dude. We are going to promote Bitcoinzuela, and we're going to promote the Bitcoin Tropical Valley, and you're going to be hearing a lot about us, and it's going to be awesome. Thank you very much, Bitcoiners. Continue building the world.
That's awesome. Thanks very much. And listeners, you can find me at stephanlivera.com. That's it from us. We'll see you guys in the Citadels.
Peace.